Hello, hello. Welcome back to a Purpose and Pixie Dust podcast. I am super excited for our guest today, Tara Reid. Tara, oh my gosh, I don't even remember where I found you. I think it was a summit, but it was a while ago. And so I kept seeing Tara's name popping up, associated with all things growing your business while being an introvert. And I know that there are so many women listening in right now who can relate to that and want to know all of the tips and tricks and strategies. So Tara, we're so excited to have you on. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I've got lots to share, so I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Okay. So tell us a little bit more about you. I didn't really do much of an intro there. So, who are you? What do you do? How did you start doing it? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. I actually started my very first business in 2007. Um, and then I've pivoted, built multiple businesses, and it's been a long journey for me because I was doing everything myself and I started to find like this is really exhausting because we always hear like you have to be on social media, you have to engage, and then it was you have to do reels and you have to like show up on video every day. And I tried doing that and it was just really energy draining and really exhausting. So I got to the point where I said, okay, I'm either going to just quit and go back to a 9 to 5 job, or I'm going to figure out how I can market and grow my business that works for me. Because I had experience with blogging. Like I was blogging back when like the internet was brand new. I had my first blog and I have experience with SEO. I was like, why am I trying to force myself into this social media marketing box and spend all my time and energy on that when there are other ways to get in front of the right people that, just aren't maybe talked about enough. So that's why I started to focus on helping other introverts find this way, because I know me at the time, it was like, I'm either going to quit and go back to a 9 to 5, or I'm going to figure out a way to make it work for me. So, anyone that's in that place, I want to help them not quit and not give up, but find other ways that fit their personality and their business.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much because everyone on their journey, if they have been an entrepreneur for any amount of time, has been like at that point where they're like, okay, I'm either going to quit or like something has to change and pivot. And I love that you were able to figure that out. And now that's like your passion is helping other people figure that out too, because I think that's so important. So, okay, this is going to probably sound a super basic question, but how does one know if they're truly an introvert? Because my whole life, I thought I was an extrovert. Everyone was always like, "Oh, you're so extroverted. You're so outgoing," you know. And it turned out for me that was just confidence. It wasn't actually being extroverted. So,
Mhm.
what's your definition of being an introvert?
Yeah, I think when it comes to like I'm very high on the introvert level because I also have social anxiety, but there are a lot of introverts who don't realize that they're actually introverts. And what it comes down to is like, where do you get your energy from? So if you're an introvert, talking to people, being on camera, that actually drains your energy. So I mean, there's tons of introverts who love being on camera. It's just they have to be mindful about how much they're doing it and packing that into their schedule because they need to then go off and like recharge. Whereas an extrovert, like that's where they get their energy. They get their energy from doing one-to-ones and connecting with people. Like that's like they don't have to go off and recharge. So I think that's the big difference is like if you're, you can be sociable, you can be like, you don't have to be shy or quiet to be an introvert. It's really just a matter of where you get your energy and how you use up your energy.
I love that. And so you can use this awareness not only in your marketing, but also the type of offers that you're creating then, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Like I tried for the longest time doing like all these like live events, live webinars, live membership where I had to show up all the time. And then I was like, wait, this is not working for me.
Yeah, yeah, I get that 100%. I'm actually closing my membership the end of this year. It's been around for almost 3 years, and it's so weird because I love that time with people. Like I love the quality time with people and I love sharing knowledge. But it's that live setting. Like that can be so draining and it's not anything of theirs. And I'm like, it's not you, it's me. Like
Mhm.
truly, it's not you, it's me. It's just it's not the right type of offer for me. And that can be really hard to realize, but it's also going to be really good too, I think.
Yeah, I actually shut down my membership this year and it was open for 3 years. Well, I didn't shut it down. I kind of turned it into a lifetime access program, but I
Mm,
completely like transformed it. So we do just have one live group call every month. But then I added in like Voxer office hours because I was like,
mm,
that's a lot easier for me to just text somebody back
yeah.
versus hey, let's schedule like a live every week. No, that's not going to happen for me.
Yep. Yep. I get that. I get that. And actually, it's interesting you said that because that is closing, but I'm taking a lot of that material and putting it into a lifetime membership or not membership, a lifetime access like course too. So I'm like, that's more my
Mhm.
jam. Like that's more my style. So that's so funny that that's
I
exactly
love
what you're
that.
thinking
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk marketing. So how can the woman who is introverted, what are some ideas for ways that she can market herself if the lives are not her thing or maybe it's just like the quantity of going live is not her thing or the quantity of social like what are some ideas that you have for her?
Mhm. I think the biggest thing right off the bat is to figure out like what takes up your energy. What based on what you're doing now, like what is really energy draining, and then asking yourself, do I need to keep doing this, or am I just doing it because it works for somebody else who, is probably an extrovert and just thrives on this? And then once you have that answer, you can start to analyze like what you're doing right now, what you're going to let go, what you're going to continue doing. And maybe it's, I'm going to continue doing this, but I'm going to scale it back. For me, I actually left social media June of 2022. And I was like, I'm going all in on my email list, on Pinterest, on my blog, on my podcast. Like these are the ways that I love to connect and get in front of people. But also, I think, when I say leaving social media, it's scary. We're so used to getting those, oh, I'm like, I made a post and now I've got like 20 likes right away. It's that instant gratification. So a lot of the other methods are kind of more long term. So you don't necessarily see those kind of quick wins. And I know likes are not like a vanity metric. So we know that they're not actually important, but it just, I don't know, inside it's just like, oh, the internal validation, like 20 people like my post right away. But I think the way to kind of move away from that with long-term methods is to also kind of add in a different kind of quick method. So for me, I do a lot of speaking at summits, which I love, especially like most of the ones I do, they're pre-recorded. So sometimes like I can, oh, I messed up. I'm going to re-record that section. Like I don't have to worry and stress about being live. And also participating in bundles because email is like my primary channel. They kind of really work with email too because my goal is to get people on my email list.
I love that. I know I'm saying I love that a lot. It's just like all of what you're saying. I'm like, yes, yes, girl. So collaborations are a really hot topic right now in the mastermind that I run because I'm like, ladies, we gotta consider collaborations because I think the collaborations, I love how you said it can be a quick win if you have the right sorts of collaborations. And that's also one of the things, and you have guests on your show as well, your podcast, because I was on your show. And
Mhm.
so like this is another stream of way that I collaborate with people, like you said, to get in front of new audiences. And I think that's such a smart alternative to that social media instant gratification world because it's exactly like what you said. We're so used to the instant gratification. I mean, so much in our lives nowadays, not even social media
Mhm.
related, Amazon, like everything is instant. We want to see that instant, results, but it's not always going to be there. I'm curious, results wise, do you see a lot of return on your time investment in Pinterest? Because I haven't heard a ton of coaches using Pinterest, but I think that's a really interesting strategy.
I do. So I actually, with all my pivots in business, at one time I did have a Pinterest management agency. So I
Oh, okay.
really love Pinterest.
Okay.
But right now it's kind of like it's not my primary. I just keep it going.
Hmm.
So I still have about 2,000 new people coming from Pinterest every month.
Oh, wow. Wow,
And
that's a huge number. That's great.
yeah. And the time, like I created actually my own system for that people can buy. It's called Pin Perks. So it's basically an Airtable base, and you also using AI to write the pin descriptions. So I'm doing it in a lot more simple way because so it's doesn't take so much time because Pinterest can be very time consuming. But if like it's going to be your main strategy, then I think you should spend a lot of time on it. But for me, it's like it's my secondary, one of my secondaries. So I'm like, how can I do this the quickest and the fastest way possible? So yeah, I set up this whole automated system in
That's
Airtable.
so cool. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Okay, we'll have to link that, guys, in the
And
show
it's
notes
only
for you.
$9.
What? $9
Hmm.
flat or like
Yep.
$9 a month? $9 flat, girl.
$9 flat. Yeah.
You gotta charge more for that. Because what you're just explaining, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. Okay, first of all, love that. Second of all, 2,000 people a month from Pinterest is blowing my mind. So we need to not sleep on Pinterest anymore,
Hmm.
apparently. Okay, and then so if Pinterest is a secondary strategy for you, which one do you think is your main strategy? Like email, um,
Definitely email.
website?
Yeah.
Okay, email.
Definitely email. I feel like everything else I do, I'm leading people back to my email list. And that's where I'm really like focused on building a community because I'm not on social media. So like
Mhm.
this is my place to connect with people and people who, I know they're interested because they actually like entered their email address. They didn't just
True.
hit follow like a year ago and now they're suddenly seeing one random post in their feed
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
um so it's actually as an introvert too, it's made it a lot easier for me to actually share great content and connect with my email list because it's not like I always felt like with Instagram especially it was like I was spending all this time and energy on like the perfect caption and then I it almost felt like I was just standing on a mountain just shouting into the noise of social
Mm.
media. Whereas
Yeah.
with my email it's like I really treat it as like a personal like
Email to people.
community.
Yeah. Right, right. I definitely have felt the same way on Instagram, so I understand that. I definitely think for me, Instagram is like my least favorite platform, which is interesting because I like to consume the content on it, but it has been very slow build in the community building. Like I've
Mhm.
built my community largely on Facebook, and I do have a really engaged email list. So I'm really curious. You keep saying you're building a community on your email list. What does that even look like? Because that one is one I feel like I put a lot into, but I don't necessarily get it back all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like at least in the way I'm thinking of community, I'm thinking like the back and forth communication. So I would love to hear some strategies for that or what that looks like for you.
Yeah, for me, it's really the community side of it is really getting people like excited about an email enough that they reply.
Mm,
That is the
mm,
biggest win for me is and
yeah.
like sometimes I get so many replies that I'm like, ugh, like I've always said I don't care how big my business gets, it's always going to be me unless it's a
Hmm.
customer service like type of email, then I do have a virtual assistant, but if it's like somebody asking my opinion or like responding to something I wrote in an email, I'm going to be the one to respond to them.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's how I kind of measure it is like are people clicking? Are they responding? Like I've had so many people in the like once I really started focusing in on email, saying like, "Oh, your emails are ones that I always open. I always look forward to your emails," and that's like the best compliment I could ever get.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, tell us your secrets then, because how do we get people to reply? Because my inbox is not full. My inbox is not full of email replies. So give us your secret.
Yeah, so I because it's my primary method, like I email a ton. So probably like 3 to 5 times per week I email and then I
Mm,
also have a ton of like I think I have 10 different lead magnet freebies. So each of those also have their own sequence that people get
mm,
added to.
okay.
And one thing I actually added last month, and I did a workshop on this, is creating a 3 to 6 month long evergreen email sequence. So
Ooh,
I started a series called Sustainable Saturdays. So every Saturday, which for some reason seems to be the best day for my email list. I know most email marketers
interesting.
are like Saturday, the weekends are the
I
worst,
don't
but
Yeah, I don't think I've ever sent a Saturday email, so now maybe I need to try.
yeah, it was shocking to me, and sometimes in the like the evening hours of Saturday, I'm like, oh, you're my
Wow.
introvert people. You're just hanging out, like watching TV, scrolling, and um,
That's how
so
you
yeah,
know it's your people, right? You're like,
yeah.
"Yes, girl."
hmm So I scheduled that. I just started that. I think everyone who was on my list is currently on week 3 of that. But the first 3 months of those emails that I built out are actually emails that I previously sent. So I went through every
Oh,
email that I've ever sent and I like marked off which ones were the best. And
mhm,
I just reused them in this
smart.
long term sequence.
That's genius. And so, if they're in the long-term sequence, are they also getting your current emails you're sending out, or do you exclude them from current stuff?
I include them in current stuff. If I ever have to send a Saturday email, I may pause the automation just for that Saturday so they don't get double duty. But
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I have multiple freebies as well, but all my freebies have the same lead mag like the welcome sequence. So it is on my list to tweak them. It just seems like a really big,
Mhm.
really big undertaking at the moment. But yeah, that's definitely something I would love to do. How long is your 3D lead magnet sequence for each one? That's not the 3 to 6 month one, right?
No,
Or is
they
it?
get added to that after they go through whatever
Okay.
the initial sequence is. So most of the lead magnet sequences, I mean, some are just 2 emails, some are like 8 to 10 emails.
Mm,
There's one that when they sign up, they get an offer for 72 hours. So there's a lot of emails in those 72 hours for the
mm.
special offer. That's like my number one funnel and converts. So I'm going to leave it alone for a while because it seems to be
Yeah.
doing really well.
Yeah. So what do you use for that? Is that like a deadline timer?
Yeah, I used to use Deadline Funnel, but now I'm using Countdown Hero because it's a lifetime deal and I'm all about saving money.
Someone else, I think it was Julie Butler was telling me about that. Do you like it? The one that's the lifetime?
I do, yeah. It was a
Okay.
little challenging the first setup just because
Mhm.
I had to use the trigger where it was like when they land on the page trigger instead of like a form trigger. So I had a challenge with setting it up, but once it was set up,
Yeah,
it was all good.
she was telling me she had some challenges as well.
Yeah, I think
But
I
then
was
she was
testing hers for her.
Oh, okay, that's probably it, and she's like, "Well, maybe they'll get the glitches out." And I'm like, "Well, maybe I'll just wait for it to get the glitches out a little bit."
Mhm.
Now I'm curious for that because 'cause I've never done one like that. Do you, is that a low ticket offer, I'm assuming, or is that a higher ticket offer that you are putting on the deadline funnel?
So that funnel, it actually used to be for my membership. So it used to
Mhm,
be an annual offer to the membership, which I think was like 297. And now that I've changed it into a lifetime program,
mhm.
there's no discount. It's really about like because the doors are only open twice per year. It's more
Oh,
like, you have a chance right now for the next 72 hours to join us, even though the doors aren't open until
that's
May
smart.
or October. So it's either $1,000 pay in full or $100 on an 11 payment
A
plan.
month. Yeah, okay, I love that. And I love that it's not a discount, but it's the
hmm
time and that you only have the other 2 open twice a year. I think that's I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that before. That's really smart because 'cause you're creating the FOMO. It's like the FOMO
hmm
is more than the discount, like, better off than the discount. Okay, anyway, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, tell me all these email secrets." I'm loving it. So, for the woman listening, and perhaps she does not have like, she's just getting started, but she is feeling like she's an introvert. Would you still recommend a social presence at first, or would you recommend as a strategy going all in on like an email, a website, etc.? What would be your like if I had to start all over again, this is what I would do steps?
It kind of depends. I feel like I would say, first of all, like, how do you feel about social media? Because I know you mentioned earlier about like you love consuming content on Instagram. And that was actually one
Hmm.
of my issues with Instagram too, is that I was just consuming so much
Yeah.
content.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm a multi passionate, so I'm like, I always want to learn, but I was just taking in so much that it was kind of making me stuck in my own business. So it
Mm,
wasn't just that showing up on Instagram was energy draining; it was like all
yeah.
around.
Yeah, I get that.
So I think I would ask if that's the case. If so, then I would maybe you don't necessarily want to start with social media. Maybe focus on, getting your website found in Google search, bringing people to you. I think as an introvert, that's the best thing we can do, is like, I don't have to
Mhm.
continuously post. I can just have people like come to me organically, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. Like, my most popular blog post still gets about 500 people per month, from
Mhm.
Google and from Pinterest. And it was
Nice.
posted, I think, over 3 years ago now, and it's still generating 500 per month. So even though
Wow.
it's not going to give you a super quick win, it is
Right.
like a long-term strategy for long-term results.
Hmm. Now, on that blog post, especially ones that are maybe older and maybe you have linked to offers that don't exist anymore, things like that. Do you go in and tweak them and update them periodically, or do you kind of leave them as is?
I definitely go in and tweak them, especially like I always every month I take a look at which ones are generating the most traffic, and then I go check them and just make sure like, oh, can I improve this? Is there maybe something else, like another freebie I could put in here? Because I'm always creating new offers and new freebies
Hmm.
too. So I'm like, even if I last update or looked at it like 6 months ago, there could be something new that I could add to it at this point. So
Yeah. Yeah.
just staying on top of it. And I mean, I'm sure
Mhm.
there's some posts that are like 3 years old that aren't getting a lot of traffic, so I've just like ignored them. I
Left
just
them.
focus
Yeah.
on like making the most of your time.
Absolutely. And so then is a lot of your Pinterest content repurposed from your website or like sending people to your website for freebies or blog posts, things like that?
Yeah, definitely, blog posts, podcast episodes, um, freebies. Even I've done some pins now too that go directly to a paid offer.
Oh, interesting. Have you ever tried ads on Pinterest?
I have, but it's been a couple years since I've
Okay.
run ads.
Yeah, I've heard, at least in the coaching field and for low ticket offers, that they can be a really nice return on investment, but I have not
Mhm.
personally tried them. I know um, one of my clients just recently started Etsy ads and they're going super well for her. And I'm like, who would have thought? Like, I
Mhm.
didn't even know they had ads on Etsy. So that's really awesome. So I was just curious, ad wise, but it sounds like you don't need it if you're getting 2,000 new people a month from your Pinterest. I still am like blown away by that number. That's awesome. That's so great. Do you post then organically on Pinterest or do you use like a Tailwind or some other sort of scheduler?
So I used to use Tailwind, but then I was like, I'm not like, I took a break from Pinterest for a while before I got back into it as like a secondary. Like, I should still keep this up. It's still driving a lot of traffic. So
Yeah.
that's so actually my Airtable base, that's kind of like my scheduler that I created.
Oh, okay. That's yeah, I forgot about that, but we will definitely link that in the show notes because we've been talking about so many other things. I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, awesome. So before we tell everyone how they can work with you, I have a few rapid fire questions I like to ask at the end of my guest interviews. So the first one, do you have a morning routine, a nighttime routine, neither, both? What's that look like for you?
I definitely have both. So I'm not a morning person at all. So my mornings I usually wake up around 10 a.m. Um, and then
Good
I
for
I
you.
like I like to have a slow morning. So I
Mhm.
usually like I have three senior dogs that require a lot
Oh,
of care. So usually
mhm.
the first hour or so of my day is like getting them ready, doing all the dog stuff, and then having I guess it's a brunch at that point, but it's something
Yeah.
to eat. And then usually I don't start working until noon. My
Mhm.
evening routine is definitely like binging Netflix in the
Mm.
evening.
Yep.
And I do sometimes work in the evening. I like working in the evening. I find that it's like quieter. Sometimes I can just like,
Mhm.
especially if my husband is at work, I can just sit here and like focus. And I'm big on batching, so I can, if
Yep.
I can get focused, I can get a lot done in a short amount of time.
Yeah, yeah. I don't mind evening work either. I don't know if it's just the way my schedule's set up or if that's just like my body, but I
It could
also
just be
prefer.
because we're not part of the like 5 a.m. club.
Yes, that also, yes. If
they're
I
they're
never had to
probably
wake up.
like they're probably like in ready for bed at like 7, and I'm like, I got a second
Yeah.
wind, and I'm like
Mhm.
feel like writing blog posts or something.
Yes, yes, and I like to ride that energy, like, when I have it or when
Mhm.
I'm feeling creative, I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." Like, "Let's get
Yeah.
it done now." It's so much better than, like, forcing yourself to do it. Okay, best or favorite, or maybe even your most recent personal development book that you've read that you really liked?
I think probably the best one, and I feel like I always say this, but it's so good. It's by Terrence Lee. I believe it's called The Introverted Leader or
Oh,
something like that. I can't remember the
okay.
exact title. I always feel like I get it wrong, but Terrence Lee, he is awesome for introverted entrepreneurs as well, and his book was really awesome.
Oh, okay, awesome. I think I feel like I've seen that title before, but I know I haven't read it, so I'll make sure to link that in the show notes as well. And then last fun question, and this is just me being nosy. Um, what is the favorite vacation destination you've gone to, or maybe one that's on your bucket list?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I just recently went to a retreat on Niagara on the Lake, and it was so
Ooh,
amazing and so beautiful there. I'm like, I can't wait to go back. Um,
that
so
sounds
I would
awesome.
probably Niagara on the Lake. Like, I can't wait to go back there. It was just
Okay.
such a beautiful area, beautiful hotel. But I would also say maybe dream would be Hawaii. I've never been there, and it's
Mm.
definitely number one on my list.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. You're like the place that I've been that I really love, and then your bucket list place. Is Niagara on the Lake, is that in New York?
I think it's pretty close to New York, but it's in
Okay.
Ontario.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'll have to look that up because I've never heard of that specifically. But yeah. Okay. Awesome. So fun. So, Tara, thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. And if the listeners want to connect with you, tell us all the ways they can do that, especially since you're not on social. How
Mhm.
can they find you and how can they work with you?
Yeah, so definitely the best place is my website, thetarareid.com. I have a free resources page that has all of my, I think there's like 10 right now, free resources. So if you sign up for any of them, you'll get on my email list, and that's really where I send the best content. I do probably, if anyone's listening to this and is like, yeah, this really resonates, I'm a huge introvert. I want to get off social media. I do have a free training called How to Market Your Business as an Introvert. And that covers the 4 primary methods that I typically love for introverts. And it goes through each one and how you can implement them in your business. And it's
Mm.
also the funnel that we were talking about earlier. So you'll have 72
Ooh.
hours to join my program if you want to.
Yes, I love that. And then, friends, sign up for these and see all the stuff that Tara's doing because just her numbers alone and what I have seen her do in summits and all the ways, like it's incredible. So, Tara, you are definitely someone that we look up to. So, thank you so much for sharing everything
Oh,
with us
thank
today. We
you.
really appreciate it.
That is so sweet. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you, friend. Have a good one.